Live.
You're live. All right, cool. Okay, let's start weekly clinic, Blakey.
Hey, Hiro, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm sorry.
Happy 4th of July to
Oh,
the people
that
in
in the
America.
U.S. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Wow, exciting. Have you got some
It's
fireworks to watch tonight, mate?
it was last night for me, and
Oh,
tonight
was
is just
it?
little family fireworks
Oh,
tonight.
yeah.
Yeah, after this, I
You,
guess.
you know, call me a stick in the mud, man, but I'm not a fan of fireworks. I don't get it. I feel bad for the
You
animals.
don't get it.
I just feel bad for the little dogs and the little cats.
Oh,
This is-
they when they hear sounds and they get afraid.
Yeah,
Yeah, they get
but that's just
scared.
me.
Yeah.
Hey, what's our question today, buddy?
Hey, man. Okay. Question is, when is it good time for beginners to put armor on? I think was what are the things we look for? So that was from Sean, our good friend Sean, and I think he's talking about adults. So beginners start doing kendo. They go through all the basics, and then okay, now uh, are they ready or to put Bogu on, or how shall I decide when they're ready? I think that's the question he was
It's a
asking.
great question, eh? Because
Yeah,
we tend to spend quite a lot of time with beginners,
yeah,
on average, and then when we put them in Bogu, you start to think, oh, maybe we should have spent a bit more time.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah,
What's your experience? What do you tend to do?
yeah. So like typically in Japan, when I was a kid, this is I think it was when I studied Kendo, 7 years old, and probably we were learning basics for 3 months, and after that, everyone doesn't matter who or what. After 3 months, you just get Bogu and you learn how to put Bogu on, and then just straight into Bogu practice. That was what we did back in I don't know how 80s. I think yeah, it was 80s, and I think it's probably like that still. And I was doing that for a while when I came to US as well, maybe 3 months. Yeah, because I thought they get bored. 3 months without doing, just doing uh, Kihon and stuff. And I thought they are getting bored. So I told them to get Bogu, and when they get into Bogu, you know the story, they forget everything, and I think they are disappointed because they couldn't move as they think they could more. So now I changed. What I do here now is that when I think they are ready, so it might be 3 months, maybe 4 months, maybe 5 months, maybe 6 months. I think at the longest I made my students wait is probably 6 months. Just, just wait. Just if you can do this, let's do it. I think that's the approach I was taking pre-COVID.
But that's what Shaw
So
wants to know is what do you look for? What was taking that
yeah,
particular person 6 months to what were you waiting for?
Sean, it's all in my head. Yeah, so I can share that with you. Do you want me to go over it, Blake?
Go over it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I've got my own ideas, but
Yeah.
you go first.
So yeah, here's Mr. PhD. I go the last. All right. Yeah. So what I look for beginners is that I start teaching fumikomi before they get into Bogu a little bit. So you can't really do fumikomi ashi when Bogu on. So initially, like typically they do Suburi and all, and maybe they go man like that. But I focused on fumikomi more. And when they sort of becoming like, okay, it's looking good, and then put in Bogu on. And of course, like, Kiten Taicha as Bogu on. Ooh, like that. Oh, sure is here.
Good man. Hello.
Hello, show. Good to have you. And Steve, too. Steve. Looking forward to this discussion.
Hey,
thank you. Yeah, so Fumikomi and Kirikaishi. So I made these people do a lot of Kirikaishi with Bogu people, man, with Fumikomi. So I think it went well before COVID, and then after that I had no beginners, so I don't really. I haven't. Well, no, I didn't test it on the other beginners, but yeah, I think it went well. So yeah. Fumikomi-ashi, and then once they get the idea of Fumikomi-ashi, Bogu.
For sure, like you need to be able to do certain things well, don't you, before you can sort of, because like my experience with putting people into Bogu, and I don't think this is a unique perspective at all, but I feel like as soon as you put men on, everything gets frozen in ice, right? The habits that you have, the strengths that you have, all those, they just sort of stay that way for a really long time, and it starts to become harder to start to shift or change behaviors. And so, like when I read that question the other day when it got sent through, I was thinking, I think what's important is the thing, like what can we do? We do kirikaishi, we can teach them about fumikomi and those sorts of things. But really, one of the things that you can't prepare someone for easily is what it's like to be attacked. What it's like to have someone, doing kiai, holding kamae in front of you, and then actually physically hitting you in the head with the shinai, right? You can practice sort of up until that point, but the actual, and oftentimes we get people to hold the shinai out and stuff like that, but to actually be physically hit on the head or on the wrist or something like those are sort of scary things. So I think one of the things that we should do as coaches or as sensei, senpai, is think about, rather than what to look for before putting them into Bogu, but how do we get them ready for that? What needs to happen for them to get ready? And there's some ways to do that, and I think and I have tried this before, and to be honest, it was a little bit difficult to convince the more traditional thinkers in the dojo at that time. But something like chambara is a really helpful session, and it might be a couple of sessions to get people used to attacking and being attacked. Right, because as soon as you put Bogu on, that's the essence of it. Whether you can do fumikomi well or do men strike well or kirikaishi, those things are absolutely important. They're bonuses, but to compete with someone else yelling at you and doing something at the same time, that's overwhelming, right? So the theory was that we would get either padded swords, which you can get online reasonably easily. Shipping's kind of an issue at the moment.
They're bloody expensive too. I've been looking for their things, and on Amazon they sell them and bloody.
They are. That's true. They are expensive. I think what might be sort of helpful in that respect. We used to do this with me. It was a bit of fun on a Saturday after a Saturday training, Hiro. was rolled up newspapers. Now they don't tickle, right? Those things still hurt a little bit, but they're far less dangerous than doing it with shinai.
True.
But the point is that to sort of get used to receiving an attack and getting hit, those things are really important. And the great irony with Kendo is that when you're ready, deemed ready, whatever that looks like, go ahead and buy your Bogu. That's a huge financial investment for people.
Oh yeah.
Just to find out that it like really hurts. And if you know what I mean. And oftentimes we put people, if we have this luxury in our dojo, we put people in club spear Bogu, right? Which is generally the worst Bogu. They're like Lego hands with the kote, like little Lego hands. And everything's really sort of hard. So I feel like the point is that we have to try and sort of get people used to having someone attacking them and dealing with what that feels like, what the emotions are, what the thinking is around that, and sort of ease that process in rather than going, right, Monday, here we go. You're in Bogu now, mate. It's a really tricky thing. You start with do and tare, and I mean, you could start people in do and tare from day one. Like, what difference does it make?
I do that. Yeah, I do that too. I forgot about it. Yeah, gradually, and I don't make them put men on for a long time. And then they have to get used to kote too. So that's the step. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so like in terms of because that's still, like, I acknowledge that might be a little bit out of scope, might be a bit of out of budget for some dojo to try and get chambara stuff. And again, like I said, when I did it, there was more traditional thinking in the dojo that this isn't Kendo, we shouldn't be doing this sort of thing. So you have to sort of contend with that sometimes. But if you have the flexibility, I'd say go for it. But in turn, like, if those things aren't available, what I'm looking for when people go into Bogu, it's really simple for me. It's, can they do small menuchi? That's it. Because and this is we've talked about this before, maybe not on this show, but offline. The thing that I can't quite get my head around is, why do we teach beginners big basic men for 3 to 6 months, put them into Bogu, and then go, oh, don't hit so hard? If we can teach people how to do sashi man or small with that finesse, with that tenouchi, if they can get that from the outset, yes, they have to contend with someone attacking them, and we can do that in a gradual way. But in terms of what I'm looking for and what they can do, if they've got the finesse and a nice sharp tenouchi when they make contact, that's so key. Because like I said before, once you put Bogu on, a lot of stuff gets set in stone. So if you can fine tune the small strikes, the ones that we spend most of the time doing in Bogu. Yes, we do big strikes. Like, I don't deny that. And there's a place for big menuchi because you can use it for nukiwaza and it's kihon, and I get that. That's fine. But there's no point in my mind in waiting till they get into Bogu to teach them small strikes, considering that's 90% of what we do when we're in Bogu for the rest of our Kendo careers anyway. So, and if you can hit with finesse and with tenouchi, and like you said, fumikomi, if you can do a nice small strike and get out of there with your footwork afterwards, you're in a really good position to set that in stone. You know what I mean? I think that's really important. We miss that because we teach them big kihon for 3 to 6 months, put them in Bogu, and then go, why do you look and sound like a herd of horses running through? Well, you know what I mean? Like, that's all they know because that's all we taught them for 3 to 6 months.
And then suddenly you're telling them, no, you got to do fumikomi stronger. You need to snap. No, they can't. We never taught them.
Yeah, we never taught them. So I feel like when you put them into Bogu, look for what it takes to be a Bogu player, a Bogu person. Teach them that. And then you can work on the big stuff later. actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Like, yeah, we talked about this, and then I had this same view as you have, and we taught them big strikes like 6 months without men, and then okay, dude, can you guys big, bam, 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 nice and big strike, man. Okay, now small men strike, and they can't do it.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
No, and they're having still. Most of them are dun holders, right? My student dun holders.
Yeah.
They're having hard time to make smaller should be easier because it's small, but they can't do it because the timing is different.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
and then we never taught them how to do it.
That's right.
Hence, I made a lot of videos at kendoguy.com, so check it out. Sorry, mate. I just had to do it.
Never heard of it. Yeah. But that's right. Yeah. That's right. So, like, if we think about what, you know, the question is, how do you know when to put someone to Bogu? I think the question, I think it's an excellent question, but I think what we need to do is sort of rethink the assumptions that go around that. Like, you know, do they need to be able to do this? Do they need? Yes, they do. They need to be able to do a certain amount of things. But when they become Bogu players, when we look at somebody doing Kendo, go, oh, wow, that person's got really lovely posture, really lovely strikes, and lots of finesse, and whatever that is. Why can't we be teaching those things really early on, considering like I said, the amount of time we spend doing small waza? Start the process by teaching that, and then introduce bigger strikes a little bit later in the piece, whether it be at the same time or once they're in Bogu, because those things are 100% important. Don't get me wrong. What do we look for in getting people comfortable doing nice kendo when they're in Bogu? Well, we look for these things. So let's teach them those things before we set it in stone with the men on that. And look, I mean, I've been coaching kendo since I was, I don't know, when did you leave? Like when I was 15 years old, so 20-something, 23 years, something like that. And I've tried all sorts of different stuff. And just over time, anecdotally, those are the things, those are the techniques for me that have worked the best. The ones that can do the stuff that we want to see when they're in Bogu, teach that first. You know what I mean? Within reason, within safety. I mean, we don't want to be teaching people taiatari with no man and no kote, for example. But you know, in terms of small man strike, small kote strike, those sorts of things are really important.
Yeah. So I think it's important that, like you said, what's the time? Yeah. So you know, beginners are thinking about hitting people. They never thought about getting hit.
Right.
So when they got hit for the first time, they just, man, it hurts.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
So I agree with it. And the kendo, I mean, if you do judo, you learn how to receive, how to fall first. They don't teach how to throw. They teach how to fall. Because it's very important. Kendo doesn't really teach how to receive.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people don't know how to receive tsuki either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think, and then when they go to shiai, people start skiing them and they don't know how to take it.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important for a lot of beginners also to know how to receive it. And you know, some people hit same spots, right?
Yeah.
All the time, and they miss all the time. And what are we going to do with those people, you know? And and we do miss as well, but you know, like I don't think they're intentionally missing, but so beginners don't know how to receive it. If you can't just take it, you know, you can say, hey dude, you're hitting my arm all the time, You can say that, but it doesn't work because they don't know how to control their shinai either.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a good reason. That's a good reason to sort of really focus on, that technique, that finesse. How do I get short, sharp strikes with accuracy, with fumikomi and all the rest of it? Good posture, blah blah blah. Right from the early stages, and sort of teaching what kendo really is, what it really becomes when you are on the floor with Bogu on. And you're right about the receiving thing. It's so it's so important to know what it's like to be attacked, right? And later, for the more senior people watching and listening, we know how much more enjoyable kendo can be if we have a good motodachi, right? If you've got kakari geko that you have to do and your motodachi is just not on the same page, right? It's hard, much hard.
Oh,
yeah. Why are you standing so far away?
Come on, man.
Yeah. So that's I totally agree, man. Like if we can we can get people, and it's not necessarily suggesting that we put Bogu on people straight away. I think it's important to go through a process of thinking about, learning about, trialing things.
Right.
But we're always sort of geared up towards putting them so that transition is really easy. So when we start think about how do we get our beginners ready for Bogu, one of the things, like you were sort of saying, is why don't we try putting a man on? It doesn't have to fit amazingly well, but this is what it's like to get hit. This is what it feels like. So this is what it feels like for your motodachi. So this is what it's going to feel like for you. So with those extra stimulus, this is what we have to contend with. So it's a long-term progression over that 3 to 6 months of teaching things that work in Bogu, the things that we want them to be able to do in Bogu, small men, small kote men, those sorts of things, but also understanding what it's like to be hit in a nice way. I don't think we need to do bad examples and go, this is what it feels like when you do it to me, but this is what it should feel like. This is what it should feel like. And getting those perceptions built into that beginner journey makes that progression a lot more effective when they finally do buy their Bogu from shogunkendogu.com. I did it. I did it too. You know what I mean? So the progression is long-term, and it's sort of a little, not long-term, but it's progressive. That progression is progressive, and a little bit, that's all targeted towards what we want those people to be able to do when they're finally in Bogu.
Right. Yeah. The funny thing is, I just told, was that my students? Yeah, I think that you have to learn good strike, through ears as well. You have to listen to the sound, the crisp, good sound of good strike, and you have to know how it feels like.
Yeah.
If someone really good hit you, this is how it should feel like.
Yeah.
So you are learning good strikes, not, like, we can't really teach tenouchi much. Like, we can't show it what happens. We can say, this is what I think I'm doing, but it happens so quickly. It's really hard to teach tenouchi. I mean, I come up with a lot of stuff, but they have to figure out. And how can they figure out? Okay, I used to hear the good sound. That's a good strike, right?
Yeah.
So I have to make that sound. And then you have to start working on, how about this? How about that?
Right.
And what it feels like, someone hit my kote really, sensei hit my kote like that. How can I do that?
Yeah.
So that is the only, you have to figure out, I think. That's a very important thing. Something that we cannot really teach.
That's brilliant, man, because what you're saying essentially is like most of what my research about coaching has been on. It's not about us delivering this information, transferring this information like a product. This is the way and the only way to do it. you know, it's really important that we experience it and make sense of it ourselves. So here's an example. Here's a demonstration, for example, and maybe some helpful pointers or something like that. But you actually have to physically do it yourself, hear it, see it, trial it, so that you can work out what works for your body, because our bodies are all different, right? And our understanding and the way that we make sense of information, we have to be able to figure it out by doing, so that it becomes part of what we know, you know, which is an interpretation of what you've told us. So yeah, absolutely, man. I 100%.
Yeah. So I think if you are teaching position, I think show is he's laughing out loud. I don't know why.
Oh, I know. It's the. I'm sure it's the Shogun.
Shogun thingy.
It must be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's shogun.kendoga.com. Yeah. All right.
There you go. Yeah. Make
Hey,
sure.
Nice and short and sharp today. That's it.
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. Cool, man.
Pleasure.
So is it good? You have to stop laughing.
Yeah. That excellent question. Another really great question. Thank you, Sho. I think that if there's anybody else that has a question that's burning, something that you want to, or something that we've talked about today that sparked another idea or another thought, send it through either to the Facebook page or a comment on YouTube, and we will endeavor to get to it. And the more questions that we come through, the more stuff we can talk about.
Right. And then we can share our knowledge and experience with you guys, and hopefully it helps you and your students.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. So is okay. Before you guys go, hit the like button and subscribe to whatever the channel you want to subscribe, Facebook or YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thanks, man.
Thanks very much, Blakey. I'll see you next week. Hey.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
All right. So you guys, thank you for coming, and see you next week. Cheers.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.